Hello, I haven't recorded a book review video for some time because I kind of stopped recording them, not because I was completely giving up on it, but because I kind of felt like, because I was reviewing everything I read, that a lot of the time I didn't have that much to say about it. That was very interesting, and I thought, well, what's the point of these videos? So I kind of decided I'll just record as and when I think a book is worth talking a little bit more about. And to be fair, even though since I've recorded my last one, whenever that was, like bloody ages ago, I haven't read. I've read some books that were good, but none that were like, oh, that's really good. I really feel like I need to talk about it. So I hadn't recorded anything for ages, book review wise. But I finally read something I thought was worth sharing. Excuse me. Now, this book is called Toxic Positivity, and it's by Whitney Goodman. The subtitle's Keeping It Real in a World Obsessed with Being Happy, and I didn't know about this Instagram account until I read this book, but it's by an Instagram that's called at Sit With It. Now, this was really interesting, and I really like this book, which is why I wanted to do a review of it. And it's really, really timely because I have kind of found myself recently kind of more and more distancing myself from, I don't want to say spirituality full stop, but I'm finding that my definition maybe of spirituality has changed and evolved over time. I've been kind of into spiritual things for a really long time, since maybe I was like, I don't know, 13 and I'm now 41. So I've pretty much researched and read and studied loads of what is classed as spiritual and self-help kind of stuff for like many years. And kind of, yeah, my evolution through it has been changing like continuously. And I have to admit, I've never really, well, I was maybe when I was first into spirituality, but like for quite a while now, I've been distancing myself from the kind of love and light brigade and the whole thing of, having to be positive all the time. So I've been kind of distancing myself from that somewhat anyway, but there was still, there's still that element of somewhat needing to be positive, if that makes sense. Not that, I've felt for quite a while now that it's really important that we express all of our emotions and don't repress them, and that we find an outlet for our anger and our sadness, and as well as our happiness and joy. And I feel that's really important. And yeah, and this is kind of why this book was so good, because it's the best kind of, I don't want to say self-help. I've read many self-help books over the years. I guess this is in a similar category, but I would say it's like, because I think the person that wrote it is a psychologist, so I guess it's psychology rather than self-help, if that makes sense. And I like this book I really like this book because it takes a completely different angle than most of kind of this type of book generally does, where it's kind of like, oh yes, law of attraction. We need to, if you're not getting results, you're not thinking positive enough, and saying affirmations and all of those things. And actually, this one, it's not actually going fully against things like positive affirmations, but it's saying that when it comes to affirmations, for example, it's saying that that the way they can be useful, but they can only be really useful if we are able to believe it's possible. So you could sit there and say, oh, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. But if you really hate yourself, just you saying it all the time is not going to change that. Um, and the way she's worded in here is something like, instead of saying that, you can say something like, I'm learning to love myself, which is a bit more believable. Um, yeah, and she's talking about kind of like, those Instagram posts that you see with like the positive kind of quotes in some fancy font, and a lot of them, yeah, they are toxic positivity, where it's like, oh, always remember that someone's got it worse than you should be grateful. And the truth is, sometimes you're just not grateful. If all the shit's all falling down around you and the world is shit, you're not going to sit there and go, oh, well, I'm so grateful. When you're in that state, you're just not. You're just not. And that's not to say gratitude and things are not good things. They definitely are. But I feel like this book is realistic. Like, it's not sugarcoating anything, and it's very validating. So you don't have to sit there and feel guilty for having feelings that are not considered positive. And that's why I would really like to recommend this book, because it's much more realistic. And like I say, for me, it's come at a really timely time. Because, like I said, I've been distancing myself for some time from the whole love and light aspect of spirituality, but also kind of, this jargon and all this stuff that feels unreal. Like, people talk about 5D and upper consciousness or whatever shit that they're talking about. It is, sorry, but in my opinion anyway, it's bullshit. Good for those people if it helps them, but it just doesn't feel, for me, it doesn't sit right. I'm a human being, and I'm gonna experience all the different rainbow of emotions that comes under that umbrella, and I'm not going to be better than anybody else, no matter how spiritual I might be or not be. So I think it's really good to have, these more, that there's books like this that exist out there that are not saying, oh yeah, you need to be happy all the time. You need to do, if you're not, then that's why things are going wrong for you. You've got to learn from everything. And of course we do learn our lessons from things that happen, but when you're in the midst of it, you're not going to think about it then. When you're struggling and you're in the midst of some big traumatic event, you're not going to think, oh well, this is terrible, but I'm learning something from it, whilst you're in the midst of it. Maybe later down the line, when you've recovered, then maybe you'll think about that. And yeah, so I've just been waffling on and on, really. But yeah, so it's this book, and yeah, she has an Instagram account, Sit With It, which I started following now that I've read this book, because I found it's a bit different from a lot of the spiritual stuff. Well, it's not spiritual per se, but psychological. And I'm just repeating myself now. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so I've been distancing myself from the love and light stuff and the trying to be positive all the time. So I did used to be like that, like many years ago. You know, my first email address started with positive thinker. I thought you had to be positive all the time, and you know, I read a lot of the self-help books that talked about being positive all the time and seeing things positive continuously. I've done all that. I've done all that, but it, you know, now I'm very far away from it, and I'm even finding myself distancing more from spirituality. And like I said, I'm just redefining it now. I'm not finding it in things that are not real. I'm finding it in life. I'm finding it in art. I'm finding it in creativity, and I'm not finding it so much. Sorry, that's Jagger making all that noise. I'm not finding it so much in angel numbers and unreal stuff. I'm finding it in truth. So like, you know, people that are around me, my life, and yeah, it's hard to put my finger on it, but it's definitely my spirituality as it is now is definitely changing more. In I am distancing myself from the version of spirituality that I was in. Um, but yeah, it's kind of hard to define it now, but it feels like it's more true and more real. So yeah, so I'm gonna stop going on because I'm literally just waffling. But yeah, so it was this book, Toxic Positivity, Whitney Goodman. So yeah, I highly recommend this, especially if you're in a similar mindset to me. Then you might want to read this, feel a bit validated, and yeah. So I'm going to stop waffling now because I've been literally talking for 12 minutes and repeating myself. But yeah, so yeah, highly recommend this one. And yeah, I'll see you again soon, most likely, probably for poetry rather than a book review. But yeah, at some point in the near future. So anyway.